Good morning. Another week and another conflict in the Mideast. Does that mean anything? I think it does, because I think it's all going to end up back there in that area, and that's what we'll talk about this morning. Continuing on with Jesus is coming back to earth. Now, what happened? We talked about before, when Jesus comes in the air and takes his people in the air, what happens after that? And I read somebody said, when nightmares become real, and I subtitled that because I really believe that's what it's going to be like, when nightmares become real. And so I want to talk about that this morning. Let me read this verse, 1 Thessalonians. We who are still alive, in other words, when Jesus comes this time, the Christians have already died, went to heaven, but we are still alive and remain on the earth, will be caught up in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. Now, some people say, where's the word rapture come from? I looked in the Bible and I didn't see the word rapture. It comes from this verse. Go back there, please. Caught up. That word for caught up, when they translated into the Latin Vulgate, remember the Roman Empire spoke Latin, to translate the Bible to Latin, the word sounds like rapture. So the word really is in the Bible. It's there, caught up. That's what it means. Snatched up, caught up, taken away. And so everybody who believes the Bible, and don't go to a church where they don't believe the Bible, what's the point? You know? And there's some starting to be like that. But every Bible-believing Christian believes that Christians will be caught up, that this is happening, that we're meeting Christ in the air, he's coming back. The difference is the timing. And it is a little hard to understand sometimes exactly how it's going to be timed out. And you know what? God doesn't have to tell us everything. He doesn't know us every scrap of knowledge. But I think I figured it out. Well, I mean, a lot of people have. All right? Let me say some things about prophecy first. Why I'm talking about this. Observations about prophecy. It's easier to understand prophecy after it happens than before. Now, let me give you an example. Jesus' first coming. They prophesied a prophecy of a Messiah, but some of it was like the Messiah would come and Israel would be victorious, and some of it was a suffering servant who would be rejected, who would die young. And of course, that's what's happening. First he came as the suffering servant to die for our sins. And it says that he would be pierced. Okay, but they didn't really understand that meant. What happened was he would be crucified. He actually was pierced in his hands and his feet and even in his side. Oh yeah, after we can see, yeah, it really did came true. And it said, but not any of his bones would be broken. Well, what does that matter? Because when you're crucified, they usually break your legs to make sure you go ahead and die, because you can't lift yourself up to breathe. So, wow, we look back and say, wow, that would be pierced, but the bone's not broken. Great prophecy. Easier on this side than on that side. Same thing about Jesus next time. It's there, it's plain. Jesus is coming back. I will come again and receive you to myself, that where I am there you may be also. Everybody who believes the Bible believes Jesus is coming back. But the timing is what gets us out. All right, then another observation about when John wrote Revelation, he didn't realize it was going to be 2,000 years at least before these things happened. He maybe didn't understand a lot of things. He saw a great vision he was given of the future events. Let's say he did see a tank or a helicopter. He didn't know what a tank or a helicopter was 2,000 years ago. And if he did, would he put that in? Now, I saw a tank. A tank? What's a tank? I saw a helicopter. What's a helicopter? See? So when he wrote Revelation, he saw some things that he described like the best he could, but sometimes it's hard to figure out that. And one other thing about prophecy, apocalyptic literature like this is a lot of times written with symbolism and literal both combined. And sometimes it's easy to see where it's symbolic, and sometimes it's easy to see where it's literal, and sometimes it's, which one is it, literal or symbolic? So that's what we've got to figure out. So what I'm going to do today is, I'm going to tell all this in one time what I think it is. And I'm not going to give you all the different opinions about it. I'm going to give you what I think it is. Okay? All right. So we're going to call it a cast of characters. First of all, who and what are the terms we need to understand? Well, tribulation is a terrible time of trouble and judgment. I think it's Daniel's 70th week of 7 years. It says in Revelation 7 years of terrible trouble on the world. Jesus said in Matthew 24, if God hadn't cut it short, nobody on the earth would be alive. Everybody would be killed. But it's cut short after 7 years with his second coming. So it's a terrible, terrible time. And it is the pre-tribulation rapture. Remember, the rapture is caught up. I believe it's before the tribulation, before all this trouble, because God a lot of times takes his people away before he puts judgment on them. And so I think, and this is what I'm hoping for, fingers crossed, that we go up before all this trouble happens. Because I don't want to be here for it. The worst that could happen, I see, would be a mid-tribulation rapture where there's a lot of trouble, but then the last half, God really pours out his judgment and we're gone by then. But I'm going with pre, okay? So in other words, there's nothing stopping now. It could happen today where we're gone and go to be with Jesus. And then starts that 7 years of terrible trouble. All right, you've heard of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. A lot of people heard, they don't know who this is talking about, but they've heard of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Well, that's in Revelation 6. And this is definitely symbolic because he tells us what it symbolizes. It's not literally a guy riding a red horse, or a pale horse, or a black horse, or a white horse. It symbolizes these different things. So the white horse is the enemy. It says on someone to conquer. I believe it's either it symbolizes the devil or the Antichrist, or both. The world ruler powered by the devil. The red horse symbolizes war. It tells us that. It's going to be war. I think what it's doing now with the 4 horsemen is giving us an overview of the tribulation. It's going to be really emphasized by a great ruler powered by the devil, the enemy. It's going to be symbolized by war. It's going to be symbolized by famine. And it's going to be symbolized by plague and death in general. The 4 horsemen. So, boy, none of them sound too good. But it's not going to be too good. Then it talks about 2 witnesses. 2 witnesses. Those are all spelled out there. This, I believe, is 2 men that God will empower to be a witness of Jesus Christ in the middle of all the trouble that's going on with a world ruler who's against Christ. He talks about 2 witnesses who are going to have miracles, who are going to preach Christ, and they can't kill him at first, and they're going to be seen by everybody, and then they're going to be killed finally by the Antichrist. He's going to kill them, and they're going to lay dead in the streets of Jerusalem for 3 days, 3.5 days. And it says everybody in the world is going to see him. Well, with the internet and TV, we can see how that happened. And because they'll be the head of the news. There they are causing trouble again, the 2 witnesses. And then after 3 days, God calls them up into heaven. All right, I know that's amazing stuff. But this, we're talking about end of the world stuff. We're not talking about everyday stuff. We're talking about when finally God says, all right, that's a wrap. And that's what's happening. Now, who are these 2 witnesses? Some people say it's just 2 guys that God called out. Some people say it's Enoch and Elijah. Why Enoch and Elijah? Remember, they never died. The only 2 men, it says, who were called up without dying. So now this is a chance to die. I don't know. But 2 witnesses in the middle of all this, where I think the Antichrist, I'm going to mention him in a minute, is really trying to pull people away from God. There's still the spiritual struggle of the ages going on in this time. Of somebody who witnessed for Christ. Included with the 2 witnesses, you got 144,000 Jewish evangelists. They're going to be out there preaching Christ. Maybe all Israel will turn to Christ. I hope. I don't know. But these Jewish evangelists, together with the 2 witnesses, are going to be out spreading the word still. Which leads us to Christian martyrs. I believe, yes, you can be saved after the rapture when he gets us. That there'll be a time where there's still a choice between following the Antichrist and the devil or following God. Because it says, right after it says the 444,000, it says, then I saw a great multitude, which no man could number, of people who went through the great tribulation, but they died as martyrs for Christ. And I say this if somebody's listening to me on this or this, if you're not a Christian now, I believe you can be. If you look around someday and all the Christians are gone and the whole world's in turmoil, I believe you can still turn to Christ. But why wait? Why would you wait? Because it's going to be a terrible, terrible time, and you'll probably have to die for your faith. You will probably be killed as a Christian if you wait. Because it says there's like millions. You can't even multiply all those who died as Christians. It's good in the sense of saying that to be a great number of people come to Christ. It's bad in the sense that they're going to have to suffer. So then again, the cast of characters, Jesus said a time of trouble, bad and the good, Jesus and the enemy. All right, let's look now at the Antichrist. I want you to know, I know who he is, and we'll reveal it in my next book. Thank you for laughing, because that is a joke. All right. And if you don't want to wait to the next book, ask me after church. $10, I'll tell you who it is. Okay. No, people have been, always trying to identify this for years. Who is Antichrist? Different presidents, different popes have been, oh, he's the Antichrist, he's the Antichrist. And then he died, he wasn't the Antichrist. And even now, I hear different people, who this person's the Antichrist, Bill Gates. I don't know who the Antichrist is. I think when the time comes, it's going to be obvious. You say, why did he put it in there, the 666, and who he is? And because I believe, though, for those people, when this time comes, it's going to be a real choice. He is going to be the Antichrist. He may even claim to be the Jewish Messiah. But he is going to be opposed to Christ. And there will be a real choice. And people who know the Bible or have a Bible are going to look and say, no, that's the Antichrist. Look, see that? I see what that means. I see who he is. And then they'll understand what 666 means, which I'm not sure right now. Okay? So he will be revealed in that time to people who read the Bible. They know the choice they're making to follow him or not. I believe that the devil is the power behind him, no matter who he is. Now let's think of some choice of who could be this kind of guy who would have this kind of power. Well, it could be just some politician who promises to bring peace. In Daniel, that seems like he's going to cause a peace treaty with Israel. And can't you see somebody, let's say it's a nuclear war and a lot of death. They're going to look for somebody to lead us out of this and bring peace. He's going to bring that one. Now, he could be some politician who's just all of a sudden elevated. Maybe somebody we know about now. I don't know. Could be somebody who says he's an alien. You know how many UFO sightings have been released? A lot. Matter of fact, at the end of June, the government's made it that they have to reveal something they know about UFOs. Now, I don't personally believe in aliens. But I believe that people could pretend to be, or say they're an alien, and people say, we're going to follow this guy who's going to bring peace on earth. Could be AI. Claim to be some artificial intelligence that got so smart, they're going to take over and bring peace. But either way, by the way, I don't believe AI can achieve consciousness. Only God can give that. That's my viewpoint. But they could act like they are, because it says there's a second beast behind the power, and that's, I believe, the devil is the power behind it, no matter who he is. And he is going to be against Christ. He's going to work miracles and will be worshipped. See, he's the Antichrist. Christ worked miracles. He's going to work miracles. Christ was worshipped. He will be worshipped. And that's where people will have a choice. If we follow this guy, we're worshiping the Antichrist and going with the devil's plan. He will rule over all the world. And we know that that is now possible with the communication and the transportation and the military things that we have, that somebody can do this. He will control the economy, where you'll have to toe the line or you're not involved. And we see how easy that is now. Hard in 2,000 years ago to do the things the Bible said. Now we can see how easy it would be for somebody to control the economy. Where if you don't do what it said, you don't get paid. If there's no cash, you're going to have to trade with somebody unless you go by the plan that the Antichrist had. Can you see how that would be possible now? I can. Very simple, because a lot of people want to go to a cashless society. And I'm not saying it's wrong to go to a cashless society. I'm just saying that makes it easier for somebody to control all the economy. But he will kill Christians. The ones who do become Christians, you got a mark on your head. To starve to death, for one thing. He blasphemes God. And then he finally, at the end, leads the armies of the world to the Middle East for the last great battle. I'll mention in a minute. So this is a person called this last great world leader that we don't know who is. And it's the big confrontation coming. The mark of the beast. The mark of the beast is a way to be identified and controlled. The person won't be able to buy food unless they have this, whatever it is, in their hand or their forehead. And now let me just say, I don't think you'll take this by accident. I went to a concert last night and they stamped my hand. I got the mark of the beast. No, that you don't get it by getting your hand stamped, all right? I don't think you're going to get the mark, got vaccinated, I got the mark of the beast. No, that's not it. The mark of the beast is something that's going to be obvious that you don't get to eat unless you go along with the program. So don't be worried about if you got it. You didn't. But matter of fact, I don't even believe we'll be here for that part. I hope we won't. But if we are, somehow I'm wrong in my timing, you'll know this is the wrong guy to be following, and I'm not kneeling down and going to his plan. I'll starve to death before I take it. That should be everybody's who wants to follow Jesus. All right, then I just want to mention one thing because I'm talking about John and how I understand it. It talks about locusts. But listen to the description. This is literally from Revelation 9. The locusts that I'm talking about look like horses. Okay, were they tiny horses? Or were they big horse looking? I don't know, see? But they looked like horses, I think, because they were big, prepared for battle. They had armor made of iron. Now it sounds like some big weapon more than just a regular locust. And their wings roared like an army. Now it could be either there's a billion locusts, special locusts, or it could be something different. Some people think it's something like some kind of man-made weapons or robots. Let me just give you one that's in use now. Picture, I forgot. They had tails to sting like scorpions, and from us they had the power to torment people. Well, that doesn't sound good. Whatever they are, it's going to be terrible. You're going to be afraid to go out of the house for these beings that roam the world. Now, let's go to the picture here. This is an actual robot that is in service now on a military base in Florida. It's not just being one there maybe someday. This is a guard dog that goes along with a soldier, not on his own right now, with a soldier, and is not weaponized. But can you see how creepy that would be if that thing came at you by itself at nighttime, and then they did put jaws on it or a weapon where it could shoot you? And that would not be hard at all with what they already have. Can you see how if somebody wanted to, they could mass produce things that could go after and hurt people all over the world? And ones with wings, he said. What I'm saying is it's possible now to have these kind of things that terrorize the planet. And those movies we see, they are getting more and more possible, and maybe during the tribulation. And then the last cast of characters, I hate this so bad, is the unrepentant. It says in Revelation 16, after all these things are going on, everyone was burned by this blast of heat. There's coming, and I mentioned later, a big blast of heat that scorched everybody. And they cursed the name of God, who had control over all these plagues. They did not repent of their sin and turn to God. Even after all these things happening in the world, they're still shaking their fist at heaven and saying, I curse you, God, where all you're doing. They're still proud and arrogant and rebellious and will not repent and turn to God. And it's so sad. But I say it's so true. We see this as and we say, why is God doing all this? Because these people have chosen to rebel against God. And it is now a time of justice. He's had a time of mercy, and now he's going to have a time of justice. If you want to go against and kill Christian people and terrorize people, then you will face justice. And he is a holy God, and these people will be unrepentant. Well, what happens in this tribulation? Well, I believe the 7 seals are the overview. 4 of them is the 4 apocalypse, 4 horsemen. And then we have the 7 trumpets and the 7 bowls. 7 trumpets is that the vegetation of the earth, a lot of it, about a third of it, will be burned up or destroyed. And then the oceans are going to have a lot of life destroyed, about a third of their life. And then even fresh water is going to be bad, harder to find. It's going to get darker. Not completely dark, but darker. Then those locusts that I talk about are going to be terrorizing the earth. And then a 200 million man army. I'm going to mention in a minute. So let's think about those first four. Vegetation killed, waters poisoned, ocean life dying, and darkness. All of these are a result of a nuclear war that would come if there would be so much, and it depends on whether it was a limited one. Let's say India and Pakistan got in a war over Kashmir. They both have nuclear weapons. Even that, many nuclear weapons could cause a lot of smoke in the atmosphere, which would darken the earth and cause less food to grow, a colder climate, and some famine and radiation poisoning. If it was a terrible one like Russia and the U.S., who have most of the nuclear weapons, it'd be so much worse. And can you imagine, and some of these things I'm just imagining, if let's say right as the Christians are taken up is when the nuclear war starts, and that's where they're not trying to figure out what we got going because there's so many people killed in a nuclear war. If it's not a nuclear war, it's just as bad. Because now you have all of this death. So this is a clip some guy put on YouTube about what he thought, and I think a lot of it is maybe from one of the Terminator movies, but it's still as good. It makes you think about it. So let's watch this.
Dela says her daughter Kayla is a bully, threatening other kids.
With targeted compression at your arch heel.
Got that head-to-head, which will be one of the tiebreakers.
We'll have 38 more tonight.
The following message is being transmitted at the request of the Office of Civil Defense. A massive nuclear attack is currently taking place against the United States. At 5:54 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, NORAD military radar detected the launch of 400 nuclear missiles from the Soviet Union. Civilian targets include, but may not be limited to, Atlanta, Georgia, Bakersfield, California, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Buffalo, New York, Billings, Montana, Columbia, Missouri.
Now that's creepy and scary, but that could happen. Right there, that could happen. And if it doesn't happen, it's still going to be that kind of results. Death, famine, darkness, war. That's what it says the tribulation is going to be like. Premier Nikita Khrushchev said the survivors of the nuclear war would envy the dead. How bad it can be. Radiation sickness, lack of food, Your whole life, the whole world changes forever. And this is the kind of thing I'm talking about that the tribulation is going to be. He goes on to talk about the 7 bowls. Sores that afflict those who've accepted the mark of the beast. They just have this torment from these sores on the body. Now all ocean life gets progressively worse, and now all ocean life is dead. The ocean is dead. The rivers, you can't get clean water anymore to drink. Then there's what it said is scorched by the sun. I don't know if it's some kind of solar flares which reach out and cause terrible burning. This will be happening. The beast of government, it says, will have complete darkness, and I don't know exactly where that is. Then the Euphrates is dried up, where the armies of the world can gather together for that last great battle, Armageddon. Now this is what the Bible says is going to happen. Some of the details we can't be clear about, but there's going to be a great last battle called Armageddon. This is going to be a terrible time. I don't want to be here. You don't want to be here. And I end with this to remind us, not that I think the coronavirus pandemic was it, but to remember, to go back, and it seems like it's winding down, thank God, but remember last March, they were having a basketball tournament here in Nashville. People were seated, ready to play the game. They said, that's it, call it off. No game, go home. And all the tournaments were canceled. And now all the government's businesses are, don't have to come in. Businesses are shut down, restaurants shut down, stay home. And you know, right then, we didn't know what was going to happen. Did you remember that feeling when it first happened? We didn't know. How bad was this going to be? Was this going to be like the Spanish flu 100 years ago, where 20 to 100 million people were killed? Is it going to be like the bubonic plague? We didn't know. And you remember that uncertainty and a little bit of fear. What are we going to do from here? Just multiply that by 1,000, and that's what it's going to be like in the tribulation. Fear, pain, death, hate. It's going to be an awful time. God has been merciful. A time where He lets man do to himself what they want to do, where the Antichrist gets to finally rule and the devil's in charge, and God's judgment. And one point for this is, you want to get ready now. If you are not a Christian, please, this is real. There is a day of reckoning. There is a God. The world like it is not going to continue forever. There's going to be a cleansing of the world, a change in the world, where Jesus will finally bring peace. But before it is this terrible time, you can pray right now, today, Jesus, I am sorry for my sin. Forgive me. I turn my life to you. I want to be saved. I want to follow you today. I want to be a Christian. I want to go to heaven. You can pray that prayer and believe it in your heart, whether you're here or whether you're listening on a YouTube video right now. And all of us want to walk with God, ready every day, because again, it may not happen in our lifetime. I don't know. But I see the things where it can happen more real now than it's ever been. And I think we should all be ready. I know this is a little bit terrifying, a little bit like, but I believe it. The Bible teaches, the same Bible that teaches me everything else about the world and God and Jesus, teaches me about this end. Let's be ready for that. Let's bow our heads right now.